In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. We are continuing our lesson about destiny or fate in Islam. So, we are on the third topic. Belief in destiny is one of the pillars of faith. There are 6 pillars of faith, right? And one of them is believing in destiny. What we understand from this is that it's a non negotiable part of believing. We are obligated to believe in it. That's where its importance comes from. Whatever happens, everything is by the decree of God Almighty. Everything is by His decree. When you say everything, then nothing remains outside of that circle. Whatever is created exists because God's decree was in that specific direction. You know how we sometimes ask, why is this like this? Why is that like that? It's because the will and decree of God wanted it that way. The definitive proofs for destiny are so many they can't be counted. They are beyond calculation. We are going to show just how strong and broad this connection to faith is, but in a simple and visible way. Just a simple introduction. The scripture says, before everything comes into existence and after it leaves existence, it is written. There are many verses in the Quran stating this, like the verse that says, there is nothing wet or dry that is not in a manifest book. Think about it. Before a tree is created, what kind of tree will it be? Its unknown future is already recorded in the preserved tablet. It's clear. Before it's created, it's written. After it's created and eventually dies, its history is written again. The Quran clarifies this openly. And look at this universe. The universe is actually a big Quran of God's power. The created beings are its verses. When we look at the universe, is there order? Yes. Is there balance? Yes. Is there organization, artistry, decoration, distinction? Yes. All of this confirms destiny. Take order, for example. It means regularity, then balance, meaning measure and scale. Look at a human's organs. They're all in the right place. That's order. But they are also placed with balance and measure. The size, the smallness. Take teeth, for instance. All teeth are created within a specific measure. Then there is organization. The system is constantly changing, moving from one order to another. Then depiction. Everything is given a beautiful shape and form. Decoration. Everything is adorned. Distinction. Every being is created with its own unique personality and characteristics. All of this confirms that there is a plan, a destiny. For example, if you don't plan something beforehand, say you're going to build a house or establish a city, if you don't plan it in advance, it won't be orderly, it'll be chaotic. If the measurements aren't determined beforehand, you can't make it fit. For something to have order, to be measured, to have a proper shape and form, to be decorated beautifully, its plan and program must be clear beforehand so it can be made accordingly. This means that before things were created, everything about them, their known destiny, was already there. This is proof that it was planned from the start. Like DNA, right? Exactly. God has put a sample of it in those seeds. The text says, yes, the arranged letters and measured verses of this book of the universe testify that everything is written. Look at the words used, arranged letters. That means orderly. Measured verses. That means weighed and balanced. They testify that everything is written. As for the proof that everything is determined and written before its existence, all beginnings and seeds, all measurements and shapes are witnesses. When it says beginnings, it probably means roots and such, right? It's not always just a seed. Sometimes you stick a branch in the ground and God creates from there too. So, beginnings refers to whatever starts the process. And right now, isn't it scientifically proven that everything is written inside the seeds? They can even read those writings now. Because every seed is a delicate little chest coming from the workbench of Kaf and Nun. So, the workbench of Kaf and Nun. What does that mean? The command kun, be, consists of two letters in Arabic, Kaf and Nun. So the seeds are delicate little chests coming from that command. These seeds are tiny chests. You put valuable things in a chest, right? God created seeds like chests. Let's call them little chests. What did He put inside? A tiny index sketched by destiny is deposited in it. This implies fine, delicate writing, a little index sketched by destiny. This means the features of the tree that will come out of that seed, its branches, leaves, everything, are recorded there, like the index of a book, but a tiny version. Information about how every leaf will look, how the flower will be, how the branch will turn out. God's power employs the atoms according to the geometry of that destiny and builds a massive miracle on those tiny seeds. The geometry of destiny. Geometry means shape and design. For example, the shape of the leaf, the form of the fruit. It's as if they are drawn there, and creation follows that line. The official blueprint is clear. God's power creates it according to that picture. Everything has a specific measure unique to it. Everything has a scale. Their shapes are clear. You say sheep, goat, apple, pear, the image is clear. These are all witnesses that it was written beforehand. The power of God places the atoms according to that plan. It employs the atoms and builds a huge miracle of power on top of those little seeds. So everything in the universe, from A to Z, from the smallest to the biggest, exists spiritually as a picture or a plan in God's knowledge. God's power brings it into existence based on that. This means that all the events that will happen to the tree are virtually written in its seed. So all the history of the tree is written in the seed. Think about it. The seed will grow, become 10 centimeters, 20, a meter, 3 meters. It will bloom, give fruit. Whether it lives 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, it's all recorded. Which branch will come out from where? How many fruits will it have? Everything is in the manifest record, Imam Mubin, God's knowledge. But back to the text. Because seeds are materially simple and identical to one another. There is nothing special about the matter itself. This is a short answer to the naturalists and materialists. We are talking about the writing inside, the program. The matter doesn't do the work, God creates according to the writing. Don't expect the atoms to do it. They are simple, lifeless things. They don't have knowledge or power. It's just hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, simple atoms. Many people get stuck here. They see DNA in the seed and say, okay, I found it. The DNA does it. But the text is saying, look, matter is blind. It can't create art. God creates based on the plan in His knowledge. Also, the orderly proportion of everything clearly shows destiny. Orderly proportion. It clearly shows destiny like the sun. If something has order and balance, its specifics must have been known beforehand. right? You can't make something this precise by accident. What kind of cherry will this be? What will this fly look like? It's all determined. While we read this topic of destiny, we are also contemplating God's divine knowledge. We usually focus on His power. God created this. Yes, power creates, but based on what? Based on His knowledge. The atmosphere needs 21% oxygen. If it's a little more or a little less, the balance breaks. Everything could catch fire instantly. Or look at carbon dioxide, 3 in 10,000 parts. It acts like a greenhouse. If it gets thicker, the earth overheats, glaciers melt. It's balanced on a razor's edge. If this wasn't known beforehand, everything would be mixed up. Since it is known, everything is in harmony. Think of a car factory. You're going to make a wheel. How big? Well, it depends on the car. If you don't know the size of the car, you might make a tiny wheel for a big truck. It won't fit. To be wise and orderly, the whole thing must be known from the start. Maybe the planning phase is bigger than the production phase. If you just started building without a thought, it wouldn't work. Yes, whichever living creature you look at, it appears as if it came out of a highly wise and artistic mold. To take that specific measure and shape, there must either be a physical mold, which would have to be incredibly complex and twisted, or there is a spiritual mold coming from destiny, and divine power cuts the cloth and clothes the creature according to that mold. Since there is no physical mold visible, it must be a spiritual mold from destiny. For example, look carefully at this tree or that animal. The atoms, which are lifeless, deaf, blind, unconscious, and identical to each other, move during its growth. Atoms have four characteristics here: lifeless, deaf, can't hear you, blind, no eyes, unconscious, no brain. They move like soldiers. A soldier doesn't need to know everything, he just needs to follow orders. In fact, it's better if he doesn't know too much. In some twisted, complex boundaries, the atoms stop and pause as if they recognize, see, and know the fruit and the benefits. Look at the shape of an ear. It's curvy and complex, or a nose, or fingers, or the heart. The atoms arrive and they have to take that shape. If they just kept going, the man would have a giant ear. They have to stop. If the boundary ends, they change direction. Consider the heart. The chambers, the valves opening and closing, the mind stops in awe. What a design! No engineer could design that. Can atoms take that shape on their own? No. They stop and move as if they know what they are doing. This means there is someone making them stop and move according to a mold. Then, in another place, they change their path as if following a great purpose. This means the atoms move by a spiritual measure coming from destiny and by a spiritual command belonging to that measure. Now, the text mentions two terms: Kitab-i Mubin, the manifest book, and Imam-i Mubin, the manifest record. Kitab-i Mubin deals with the visible execution part, God's will and command. Like the command, O earth, swallow your water, or O sky, stop the rain. These are commands for creation right now. It's the visible laws of nature we see. The mountain is here, the sun is there. This visible state is the Kitab-i Mubin. It's like the power notebook. Imam-i Mubin is about God's knowledge, the past and the future, the invisible plan. How will this tree be in 10 years? How was it in the past? That's the Imam-i Mubin. So, inside a seed, there are two manifestations of destiny. One is visible destiny, Bedihi. The physical characteristics written in the seed that will eventually be seen by the eye, the structure of the tree. The other is theoretical destiny, Nazari, the timeline, the stages the tree will go through during its life, its history, its movements, its glorifications of God. Just like a child growing up, 1 month in the womb, 2 months, eyes appear, then birth. 1 year old, 2 years old, you look at a guy and say, he's 30, he's 40. All these states across time follow a schedule. That is the order of destiny. So, from the creation of the universe until Judgment Day, everything is recorded. Finally, just as the history of a thing is written before its existence in the seed, its life story is also written after its existence. What's the proof? Memory. The memories in humans are witnesses and signs. Just as the tree's life is in the fruit seed, man's life is recorded in his memory. It records not just his life, but parts of the world he interacted with. It's as if God, with the pen of destiny, copies a small receipt from the page of your deeds and puts it in the pocket of your mind. God writes in his divine record, Imam-i Mubin, and he also writes in your memory. He puts it in your pocket so that on Judgment Day you can be reminded. It shows that things don't just vanish into nothingness, they are preserved. This allows man to be confident that in this chaos of impermanence and death, there are many mirrors for eternity. God preserves the identity of transient things. He writes the meanings of these fleeting lives on permanent tablets. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Glory be to you, we have no knowledge except what you have taught us. Verily, you are the all knowing, the wise.